The previous lesson we studied how to construct a flow works, but here is all everything is all right. So in the C, the constructor of B non-parameterized constructor of B is called. In the B, non-parameterized constructor of A is called. Okay, let's say suppose what I want to do is I want to call a non-parameterized constructor of superclass if it exists. Okay, let's take a different example altogether for this so that explanation can be very simple. So I'll have a class X and I'll have a class Y. So let me delete all this. I'll say Y extends X. We can have a constructor for X. Let's say I am X-Man, and for the constructor of Y, let's say I am Y-Man. Fine. So if I create an object of Y, we know what is the output. Let's say obj equal to new Y. So the output will be I am X-Man, I am Y-Man. Good enough. Suppose if assume the class X contains one more constructor. The class X contains one more constructor X which accepts an object of type string, let's say message. And if anybody send any message to this constructor, I'll simply print the message. Now when I create an object of Y, this Y, what it will do? It will call the non-parameterized constructor. What if I want to call this constructor? So how do we do that? Simple. Here we know that one, it is calling the non-parameterized constructor. So what I'll do here, I'll simply say super. Now again, if I say super, this is calling this constructor only. But if I want to call this constructor, then it accepts an argument. So I'll send an argument. Okay, let's say message from Y. Let's say like this. So now what should be the output? It will come to this. It will call the super constructor. This constructor which prints message from Y. Then the control will come back here. Then it says I am Y-Man. So that will be the output. Good enough. So we use super keyword. We use super keyword to call the constructor of superclass. Remember we used earlier to, let's say in this constructor, if I want to call this guy, how do I do that? I'll say this, then I would do like this. And remember in that class and object class, in the constructor class, I told you this should be the first statement. And just the same way, calling the super constructor should be the first statement in any other constructor. So like this we can call the super constructor. And there's one last thing about the super keyword. Let's say X will create one member here. Let's call it as string data, some value, or whatever just some variable, string data. And what I want to do is, so this is a super class, this is a child class. Here if I have a method, let's say public void say print data. Now I can have one statement here. We know that whatever the data is there, that has been inherited here. So if I simply say data, what it will print? It will print null. Obviously it will print null. The data is initialized with null. So let me go here, obj dot, I'll call print data. Even in fact I can say system.println, I can simply say data also. obj dot data also I could do, because that has been inherited. So it is null. Now imagine I will have string another variable called data. So this is a tricky part. I'll add some value. Let's say data, I will call it as student info. Data equal to student info. Now understand this. The data was there in X, which has been inherited to the data was there in the data. This data member property what we are having, it was defined with the same name in the parent class, that is in the X class, which has been already inherited to Y. And on top of that, again we are declaring one more variable called data. So what happens to this data? It will be still there. It will be still there. That's not get destroyed. It's not overridden. We studied that there is no such concept as data member overriding. So now if I say data here, what it will do? It will print student info. Why? Because when we say simply data, it gives preference to, there's a typo. I was testing you, how alert you are. Now it says student info. Let's say here I will assign the value as employee info, or let's say parents info. That makes more sense. Now if I print again, so obviously the output is just student info only, because when we say data here, it is accessing the member which is present in Y. How do I access the member of superclass? I can say super. Now you see, I get parents info. So super keyword can be used for accessing the members of superclass also. But the catch here is that, like we see this pointer, remember employee constructor, I will accept ID, name and salary. Then I say this dot ID equal to ID. Same way, if in the just a non-parameterized constructor employee, I could say ID equal to some value directly. When I say ID, it was pointing to the data member of ID. Only when there's an ambiguity, we used to use this pointer. Same way here, it is not essential to use the super keyword here. It's not essential to use the super keyword. Say if there's no such thing, it will still say parent info, and even if you remove this, then also it says it accesses the member present in the parent class. So we say parents, it's printing parents info. But when do I need to make use of super keyword? When there is an ambiguity, there is a data member with the same name. Now I want to identify the super class data member. In that case, we use super. Now how do I access this data? Simple. If you say data, then it is accessing the local variable. It's not local variable, it's a data member of subclass. Clear? And even you can say this dot data, then also it is pointing to the this data only. Good enough? So this is how we call super constructor, and to access the members of superclass. It may be a data member, or it may be a member method. We use super keyword to access the members of superclass. See you in the next video.